We are starting the straighten up and fly right maneuver, where the spacecraft will jettison the entry balance masses in preparation for parachute deploy and to roll over to give the radar a better look at the ground.
Indicate chute deploy.
The navigation has confirmed that the parachute has deployed, and we are seeing significant deceleration in the velocity. Our current velocity is 440 meters per second at an altitude of about 12 kilometers.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is Paul, and this video is directed mainly for my students at Hakuo University. Today, I'm technically supposed to be in class. However, last Tuesday, 2 of my students tested positive, so I thought that it would probably be safer if I stay home and conduct this class online, or I should say on demand. So I thought that I would make this video as a kind of like last message. And so the things that I want to talk about today, I wish that someone had told me when I was a student. So basically, I want to divide this video into 2 parts. The first is things you shouldn't do, and the second is things you should do. Let's start with the first one, things you shouldn't do. I think you shouldn't spend too much time consuming, okay? And what I mean by consuming is, of course, like useless shopping, etc. But what I mean by consuming is that of too much social media, scrolling. I'm a victim of this as well, and I try to control my habit of getting on social media, spending hours and hours and hours of just checking Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc. I know it's kind of hard, especially these days during the pandemic, but I think that we can use our time in a more productive way. Yes, it's entertaining, but you ought to set a limit for yourself, okay? Now, for me, social media, especially a smartphone, is quite distracting. So what I like to do is I like to turn off the notifications. I mute people's posts and stories, especially for people who use Instagram like Twitter. They're just constantly on there. I mute that, especially if it's not so beneficial for my life, okay? Please remember that if someone doesn't click like on your photo or doesn't look at your story, please don't think that it means that your photo or your post is bad or your story is boring. There could be various reasons why people don't click like on your photo or look at your story. I try not to let that bother me, okay? Of course, if, wow, a famous person clicked like on my photo, wow, that's quite amazing. But that's a kind of special circumstance. So in a general way, I wouldn't think so much about who likes, who looks at your stories, etc. Another thing I think which is related to social media is you should think, what are you trying to sell? Okay? What are you trying to promote? What are you trying to communicate? And why should others care about your photos or your posts, okay? If you have nothing really valuable or useful to see, why should they spend time looking at your posts, your feed, your tweets? Please think now, the amount of time that you spend on social media, how is this time, this invested time, how is this time going to help you in the future? Is it going to help you with your future career, your goals, your targets? If it doesn't, then maybe you want to think carefully about how you use your time.
Turn off that fucking cell phone. You can have no idea how unimportant your call is to us.
Now, if you have no idea of what you want to do in the future, that's perfectly natural, especially for young people. So perhaps you should spend more time thinking about the things that make you excited, the things that you are passionate about, and the things that might perhaps give you some reward in the future. Maybe you should do those things instead of just consuming so much. Now, that brings me to the second point, which is things you should do or try to do, okay? Now, in Japan, the academic year begins in April 1st, okay? Everything begins in April. And it's January 20th now. January, February, March, April. You've got some time. And I think in this short time, you should set a target, set a goal, okay? Learn something, do something productive, okay? So this is the opposite of consuming, but producing, make something, okay? Gain a skill. And one of my suggestions is perhaps you should learn some software. Learn how to use, for example, Photoshop or Illustrator or a video editing software. I know that you need a computer for that. So maybe you should invest in a new computer system. There are many tutorials on YouTube on how to use software. I think these days there really is no excuse to say that, oh, I don't know how to do it. Well, YouTube is there. There's a lot of tutorials on how to learn specific software. Okay, or if you want to take a course, go for it. Okay, that's going to take some money, but on the cheaper side, you could probably learn how to do it on YouTube. Another thing I think you should do, this is just my personal recommendation, is I think you should get off the internet. Literally, I mean, go read a book, exercise, take a walk, use a typewriter. Okay. I think many of you who know me, I'm really into typewriters, but it's refreshing. But I like them. They're fun, they're cheap, and they look cool. But I think taking time off the internet completely, go camping, turn off your phone for half a day, challenge yourself. Think about what the world was like before the internet. How did people enjoy their lives? How were people creative and productive before the computer? Again, just to recap, this video is really meant for my students at Hakuo University. Some of them I cannot see them. This is our last kind of communication. I hope to see you in the future. And also, I think that the things I just mentioned about things you shouldn't do, things you should do, I think these things are really meant for students. You're not working right now. Maybe you have a part-time job, but you have a lot more time to kind of grow and think about what you'd like to do in the future. Okay, so I hope this video was useful, and thanks for watching, and stay safe.
Look at the ground.
Applicant indicates chute deployed.
The navigation has confirmed that the parachute has deployed, and we are seeing significant deceleration in the velocity. Our current velocity is 440 meters per second at an altitude of about 12 kilometers from the surface of Mars.